What's going on YouTube? HallstotheWall here. So today marks the day that I'm going to potentially be bringing some of my favorite cards out of temporary retirement, and that would be Sky Strikers. So Sky Strikers were probably my best deck, I guess you could say. It was the deck that I was the most comfortable with playing in the past, and I feel like it really taught me the mechanics of the game and how to properly play modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Because especially when I had first started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe 10 years ago or so, it was very simple format, very simple game. It was essentially set 2 pass or normal summon a monster pass. But then when I got back into it, I saw that the game had evolved a lot more and became a lot more complicated than it was beforehand. So I have my binder here, and I'm going to be going through and pulling out my old Sky Striker cards, well, old cards, if that's what you want to call them, and just talking about them in general and how I think the Sky Striker strategy can do now in 2020, especially because at the beginning of the year, with the new ban list, everybody's favorite Sky Striker card, Sky Striker Mobilize Engage, got hit on the ban list. But without further ado, I'm just gonna start pulling these out of the sleeves here in my binder. But yeah, Sky Striker Ace Ray, everybody knows what she does. It's a card that you don't really have to explain that much, but definitely want to play 3 of this in any Sky Striker build that you try to implement. Another Sky Striker monster that I would play if I had them is the new Sky Striker main deck monster, Sky Striker Ace Rose. I might try and make a build without her, but we'll see. Maybe builds that I'll implement in the future will have 1 or 2 copies of her, but we will see. And then the only other monsters that I would really include in the main deck would be hand traps, but I don't have those in this binder. Those are with my cards that I've been currently using at the moment. But, oh yeah, then Link monsters. I need to get the Sky Striker Ace Link monsters. So, of course, got Hayate. We will have 3 copies of Hayate in this build. If I can find the sleeve. Here it is. Yeah, so 3 copies of Hayate are going to be in the Sky Striker deck that I'm going to try and make competitive, see if I can be successful with that. With Hayate, at least what I did in the past when I played this card, she's great for getting anything you need in the graveyard, obviously, that you can then use to fetch with Kagari later on. So if you didn't access Engage on your first turn, you would, with Hayate, attack directly, and then because you did damage or because you battled, you could send Engage into the graveyard and then fetch it with Kagari. But obviously we can't do that anymore with Engage being banned, but there are definitely plenty of other Sky Striker cards that you would want to get instead. Kagari, honestly I might only run 2 of her in the extra deck in this build. I know that sounds crazy, but with all of the cards that I want to include in here, space can be kind of tight. But yeah, maybe I'll up her to 3. I do need to find my other copies anyways. I know I have at least this one, and I'm not sure where the other 2 are. If I have 2, I think I had sold some of them off when she was limited to 1, so I'm not sure if I have many more copies than that, but we'll definitely want to maximize on the copies of Sky Striker Ace Shizuku. She gets you anything you need during any end phase, so if you summon her on your turn, during your end phase, she can fetch a card that you'll need for your next turn, so that way you don't have to risk the chance of not drawing it on your next draw. Or if you summon her on your opponent's turn with Sky Striker Ace Ray's effect, you can, if she lasts the turn, you can get the card that you need during their end phase. And her effect of decreasing opponent's attack, it really does come up a lot, especially in a deck that is really reliant on using spells and getting spells into the grave. You can really decrease your opponent's attack by quite a bit. So those are all the Sky Striker Ace Link monsters I have in here. I do have a copy or 2 of Kaina somewhere, and if I do decide to include her in the extra deck, I might only include 1 copy of her. I feel like what I've heard, she's good in time because you can gain life points, but we'll see. A lot of the other Link monsters, as you can see, we just got into the spell section. a lot of the other Link monsters that I have are also with the cards that I'm currently using in other decks. So cards like Boral Sword, Abramax, Boral Load, Dragon, the Nightmare package. I feel like those are staples in a Sky Striker deck, especially because Sky Striker has a really good grind matchup. So you want to have a lot of those cards that let you prolong the game and stall the game. Let's see. Another card that I don't have in my binder, but I might include it for draw power, is Card of Demise. I teased this on my Instagram the other day, and I know it's Italian, but I know what the card does, so not knowing the language doesn't hurt me too much there. But this might be one of the draw spells I include. Obviously with Engage being banned, that was the main source of draw power for the deck, so you really have to get creative now with the different draw spells that you want to use. And Card of Demise, it was a card that I was including at 3 in my most recent Sky Striker build before Engage got banned. And at 1, I think it might be good at 1, especially because you don't necessarily need to do a lot of special summoning on your first turn. Ideally, with this build that I'm going for, it's going to be more of a control Sky Striker build. So there'll be a lot of back row that can disrupt your opponent and interact with your opponent on their turn. I don't think there will be any other spells before we get to the Sky Striker spells. As you can see, I organized everything in ABC order because my OCD was kicking in when I decided to put everything in the binder. I might include some of the forbidden cards, but that would come later after I found everything that I definitely need. Metal Foes Fusion, I'm going to be including that along with the Foolish Burial Goods package, and I can't quite get this out of the sleeve. There we go. Yeah, this one's actually a little damaged, but I do have another copy with the cards that I've currently been using. So I'm going to put this one back in here for now, because I have another copy with those cards. But yeah, I'll definitely be running the Foolish Burial Goods Metal Foes Fusion for a draw power. And even if you do draw Metal Foes Fusion, at any point you can set her and then pop her with the Sky Striker field spell, so you can excavate and get your cards that way. I'll probably be running Mystical Space Typhoon as a back row removal card. With Twin Twisters, you do have cards that might not necessarily hurt you if you discard them and get them in the graveyard, especially now that we can run 3 Kagari and just recycle them anyways. But a lot of times you're going to want to be setting your cards, so Mystical Space Typhoon without having to give up any of your resources as cost. I like the idea of running that better. Again, I'm not going to be taking these specific copies out of the sleeves here because I have 3 ultra rare copies from the dual overload set that I would be running, just to, give MST a nice rarity bump. And nothing here. I mean, maybe Pot of Duality. Like I said, it kind of goes along with the same idea of Card of Demise, where you don't necessarily need to be special summoning. So you could potentially get away with that, especially going first, just to see cards that you want to see. And all right, here we go. So here start the Sky Striker spells. So right now I have 2 copies of Airspace Area 0. I'm going to try it with 2 for now, but I might end up bumping this up to 3 because we need draw power, we need consistency, and Engage getting hit really hurt the consistency piece. I'm only going to be running, if I can get it out again, 1 Afterburners and 1 Jamming Waves. So I'm going to take these out here. And maybe Silent Graveyard could be a side deck card. Yeah, effects that activate in the graveyard this turn are negated. So, I mean, that could come back to bite you, or come back to bite me while playing this deck. That I won't be able to activate Raise effect in the graveyard, so that could come back to bite us. So I'll just leave that in here for now. I'm only going to be really focusing on the main and extra deck when pulling cards from here. But yeah, so Sky Striker Maneuver Vector Blast, I was running this in my most recent build before Engage got banned and way before the new Master Rule was implemented. I don't necessarily think this card would be too good in this format, especially because most monsters from the extra deck are most likely going to be placed in the main monster zones now. So shuffling that target in the extra monster zone might not necessarily be that good of a form of removal. I mean, unless of course your opponent has a link monster in the extra monster zone that you want to get rid of. So this might end up being more of a side deck card, just running one copy of it because it's something that won't really do too much in today's metagame. And then definitely I'll be running 3 copies of Eagle Booster, Sky Striker Mecha Eagle Booster. It's a great way to protect all of your monsters, any of your monsters really, as long as you don't control a monster in your main monster zone. So depending on the number of spells you have in your graveyard, if you have 3 or more, you can make your monsters impervious to battle and card effects that turn. So I think that's definitely a key card to run. I will be running the 1 Hornet Drones, which self-explanatory, it makes a token. The 1 multi-roll, because it's limited to 1, and we can only run 1. But especially now that we can run 2 Widow Anchors, I think this card definitely, it's a lot better than it was under the previous format. And Shark Cannon, this is definitely a card I want to maximize on. Again, I only have 2 copies of this for now. I don't know where the 3rd one is. I may have sold it off a while ago, or it could just be floating around in one of my boxes somewhere. But I don't have 3 for now, but I definitely will be playing 3 of this because one of the main things that Sky Striker is very good at is just taking your opponent's resources and using them to link climb to go into something like maybe a Boral Sword, so that way you can OTK. But I definitely will be including 3 of those and 2 Widow Anchor. Sorry for the mismatched sleeves and the mismatched sets. This one's from Hero's Revenge and this one's from Dark Saviors. But be playing 2 of these now, especially that we can play 2. So again, there isn't really much explanation that comes with this card. It's just great for stealing your opponent's resources. And I'll be playing 3 copies of Engage. Oh wait, no, can't play that because they banned it. So, wishful thinking though, right? All right, so I think that's really it for the spells that I have, at least in this binder that I will be running. In my very early builds of Sky Striker decks, I was playing Toon Table of Contents because it came in the Dark Saviors set, and it's just a great way to get spells in the graveyard. But with a lot of the other cards that I want to run, I don't know if I'll have the room for that. And I don't think it would necessarily be worth including in the side deck either, because it will just take up space for other things that you need. Let's see. Yep, so I think that's it for spells. And then being that I want to try and make this a control-based Sky Striker build, I have been considering running more traps. So something I could consider running is compulsory evacuation device. It's just great for bouncing problematic monsters to the hand that your opponent controls. I don't know if I'll take that out just yet. Here, Fiendish Chain, I don't know about that. But something I would really strongly consider running is Lost Wind here. And maybe some copies of Trap Trick to supplement it and just, make it more searchable and get it out more easily. I do have 3 copies of Trap Trick that I actually was able to pull from Secret Slayers, so already having those, I don't necessarily have to go out and get any more resources. Let's see, on this page, I might consider running Paleozoic Dynamiscus. It's just another great form of removal for any card, really. I don't believe it's just monsters. Yeah, target 1 face-up card on the field, discard it, and if you do, banish that face-up card. So I'm just going to take this out now. I don't have these in sleeves yet because these are cards that I've never ran before, but if I do decide to run them, I will put them in sleeves, just give them proper treatment. And I might even consider running these in Burning Abyss, another build that I'm working on. That would be a pure Burning Abyss build. And let's see, Waking the Dragon, no. White Howling, so that's an interesting card. I know a lot of people, when this card was released in Rising Rampage, talked about how it could be good in the strategy. I don't know if I'll run it. It might be something that I take out and test once I get my build and once I get a build that I'm comfortable with. So I am just going to leave that in there for now. Yeah, and then the rest, I just got field centers, tokens, and yeah, so that's it in this binder. So the cards that I have that I'm going to be running in this deck would be Card Demise as a spell, double Sky Striker Airspace Area 0, one each of Afterburners and Jamming Waves, one Vector Blast. Oh, actually, it looks like I took out 2 by accident instead of 3 Eagle Booster. Oops, my bad. So I'll put 1 to the side, and then I'll take out the 3rd Eagle Booster later on. But 1 Hornet Drones, 1 Multi-Roll, triple Shark Cannon once I can find a 3rd somewhere, double Widow Anchor, triple Lost Wind, Dynamiscus, potentially, but definitely Lost Wind. And then for main deck monsters, the Sky Striker Ace Ray, and maybe Ace Rose if I can get my hands on a copy. And then 3 Hayate, probably 2 Kagari, I only have 1 here for now. And then double Shizuku. So that's gonna do it for the cards that I have here. I will probably show you guys my full deck list on either YGO Pro or Dueling Book. I'll upload that at a later date, but I just wanted to run through this binder with you guys and explain some of the cards and their strategies and whether or not I think that they will be impactful in this new format. So even though arguably the best card in the deck, Engage, is no more, I do think that the strategy can be very impactful going forward as kind of a rogue contender, which I don't think anybody ever thought that we would be calling Sky Striker deck a rogue contender, but we will see. I'll put the build together, and in the future, maybe in a couple days or so, I can show you guys the build on YGO Pro. But I thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. Please subscribe to the channel so you can see the future Yu-Gi-Oh content that I'll be putting out there for you guys. My Instagram, HallstotheWall17, the link for that is going to be in the description down below. So again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe and please like the video with a thumbs up. See you in the next one.